Today on Diksha, we talk about goodness. So as a follow-up to the previous episodes where we talked about establishing the importance of the individual in terms of what is key for the individual's position, let's say, in life. The following step is to talk about goodness, or determining what is a good person compared to what is not a good person. And the definition I'm going to put forward is a bit broad, but it's very specific. And the reason I say that is because let's say the idea or the philosophy behind looking at Sanatan Dharmic principle is that it's an eternal principle. It's something that transcends time, or it exists from the beginning of time itself, and will continue existing long after, let's say, even humans exist. Which so it's not dependent on people. So being good or goodness and being bad is not something that we can say is dependent on our opinion. Now, this is key because the word goodness and the opposite of goodness is strictly something that human beings have made up. Because in terms of the balance of nature or the rules of nature, we know that things flow in a certain way. We know that everything that begins must end, and so the way things end also fall outside of what we can control. So goodness itself as an idea is a human idea, because it often relates directly to the survival of the human being. And for example, in Trinidad, we have it's a common joke in a way that the families of criminals tend to defend them and say that they are good people. And I would say that they are not wrong in saying that the person is a good person. And the reason I say that is because being good depends on survival. Being a good person is somebody who contributes to the survival of, let's say, the unit, whether it's the family unit, the community unit, the national unit. So being good is somebody who acts in a way to ensure the survival of the unit. So when a family is struggling, or when a community is struggling, or a nation is struggling to survive, to actually feed themselves, or to carry on, to clothe themselves, or to secure their future, the person who is able to do this is considered a good person, because they secure the lives of those around them. And so if a person is doing it in a way that other societies and other cultures deem as not good, but the immediate environment of the person is feeling that they are secure, or they are carrying on, then that in a way is the definition of goodness, which is ensuring the survival and continuity of the unit. So this is the definition of goodness that I want to put forward, which is that action or that operation which ensures the survival or the continuation of nature is goodness. And what that simply means is acting in a way that contributes to the development and continuity of things is considered goodness, or being constructive in a short way. By short definition, being constructive and not destructive. So a person who acts in a destructive way, or a person who acts in a way that threatens the survival of the unit, is somebody who is not acting in goodness. Now, socially speaking, or in terms of the ways of nature or the ways of particular societies, the definition of not the definition, but the things themselves that make a person good in that particular society is different. So in warlike societies, whether past or present, being a warrior is being good, being able to defend the country at the drop of a hat, or the tribe at the drop of a hat. So being able to take life and carry on as a constructive member of society what is and was considered good, and in the future as well. But that doesn't mean taking life is good. It means it's relative then to the continuity of the unit. And this is where it falls in line with establishing the importance of the individual, which is I as a person act in a way to protect the single unit, which is myself, but also the individual who acts in a way to continue the community unit. And community can be narrow to the village or tribe, or it could be broad to the country or the nation, like for example, or the union, like European unions and stuff like that, where there's a way to act to ensure the safety and the future of others. Because no person is able to survive independent of society. And realistically, that unless we live in a state of wilderness where we hunt our food and live close to running fresh water, so we drink from a river or a lake, and we hunt or fish, and that's all our day consists of, then probably you could survive for a while. But at some point in time, the individual depends on others. So to act in goodness is to act in a way where the community moves forward safely. And that's basically the definition. That, in terms of it being a principal rule of nature, you can apply it to animals, you can apply it to ecosystems, where, let's say, every single aspect of the ecosystem works to support the ecosystem. And when one particular aspect of the ecosystem acts in a way that is not conducive to the ecosystem, that ecosystem fails. So it could be anything from a solar system, where a solar system has a certain let's say cycle of the planets and the stars, and then you have a meteor comes violating the orbit of the planets and the stars. At some point the meteor collides and causes some form of destruction within the solar system. So, or simple as let's say a city as a system, and then particular forms of building or whatever and planning acts in a way that does not take the rest of the city into consideration. At some point it becomes a problem. So it applies to both animate and inanimate scenarios, where there's goodness in what is happening is conducive to the future of the unit. So it's a pretty short discussion because it's based on building from where we talk about the individual establishing the I, or identity, and naturally speaking, when the I is established, we want to figure out if the person is a good person, and It's not so much as saying that we list qualities and say, okay, the person does this, like, and doesn't do this, and we have a list or criteria. That comes later on in the discussion of what is goodness. But first comes figuring out what is conducive to this future. So it's a pretty short discussion, a pretty short topic on Diksha today. Diksha, of course, every Thursday right here on Sankhya TV, the first Hindu TV station in Trinidad and Tobago, and your number one choice for inspirational, cultural, and spiritual programming.